Welcome to Therapist Spotlight.
Hello everybody, welcome to Anta's Therapist Spotlight, the podcast where we aim to showcase our wonderful members to the wider community. I'm Joshua Brooks, your host, and today we're here with Anthony Harcher. Anthony is a clinical nutritionist and owner and founder of Me and My Wellness. He also does quite a bit with mindset, so I think this is going to be a fantastic conversation. Anthony, how are you going?
Fantastic, Josh. How are you today?
Raring to go. So,
Awesome.
First question, how'd you get into natural therapies?
Yeah, it's a bit of a journey. So I certainly didn't start my career in natural therapies. I went formal education, chemical engineer, did 15 years in the corporate world. Really enjoyed my journey in the corporate world. I learned a lot about myself, and but I wasn't addressing this underlying passion I had, and it was always for my health, my wellness, and I also found this passion that I really enjoy helping and mentoring others. So I combined the two together after I went for my first naturopathic consult many years ago. But mind you, that was 2007. I didn't really press the trigger to study naturopathy, clinical nutritionist until 2012. So it was, I guess the seed was sown in 2007, but 2012 was when I started studying, and I ended up completing 2 degrees, and that being in as a clinical nutritionist and a second degree in complementary medicine. So that's pretty much how I've arrived at what I'm doing today.
Yeah, awesome. And so did you find that your chemical engineering studies really helped you when you moved into the clinical nutrition and doing the complementary medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. The engineering really taught me how to take theory and practically apply it. So very pragmatic as an engineer, and
Sure.
It's certainly, those skills are very transferable into what I'm doing today. And also the problem solving would be the other big standout to me, was my ability to solve problems and get to the bottom of what's going on quickly. Having that, that analytical mind to sift through lots of information and get to the bottom of what's really going on.
Yeah, definitely. And I can really see how that would also help you with the clinical nutrition, because obviously that's a whole chemical and how the biochemistry and all that. So learning from the chemical engineering, you'd also be able to see, well, how can we implement this into this system, and how does this system flow on? So you can look at all those feedback loops through the body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed studying it because it was biology, which I didn't study at school. So my first introduction to biology was when I was doing the clinical nutrition, but I love science, and I fell in love with it, and I wish I had started when I was at school. So I love that. You're so right about the feedback loops. I totally got it really quickly, and could visualize it, and really help me with the learning in terms of visualizing what's going on within the body around the feedback loops, and being able to systemize it into diagrams and things like that.
So, well, I know a lot of engineers, and they love data, right? It's one of their big things. So for a consult with you, are you a big data guy? Are you a lot of functional testing, seeing where people's levels are at, seeing where, what nutrients are deficient maybe from lab tests, or are you going away from that a little bit? Yeah, how does that inform your consultation process?
Yeah, very good question. I am data driven, but I think through my corporate experience, I realize, and particularly when I've got a client in front of me, there's a whole emotional element. So I don't want to get bogged down into analyzing the paper. And I've really found myself engaging the person in front of me and really hearing what they've got to say, because generally the answers are coming from them, and they have this inclination of what's going on, and I really listen to that as opposed to worrying too much about what's on the paper. So yes, if I'm concerned that there's something more going on that could be, then definitely I'll refer to a doctor. If the red flags are there. But outside of that, I'm very much listening to the person, understanding their needs, and addressing those needs through nutrition and lifestyle medicine. So I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore functional medicine practitioner.
Yeah.
I've got more of that human side to me, and really engaging the person in front of me and personalizing their plan to what's going to fit into their lifestyle.
And it is one of the things that I personally believe gives natural medicine that little bit of a difference, is that, yeah, we're not so focused on those numbers and the paper sheets. Like you said, you got that more human element, so you can actually engage to them. It's like, well, what emotional side are you doing? Like, you know, it could be a nutritional deficiency, or you could just be stressed, you know, so give all the zinc or all the magnesium you want. And if you're not taking care of that stress, we're just masking symptoms. So we're sort of not.
Yeah. 100% agree. And sometimes the paper in front of you can look great, and you're thinking, okay, well, it's not on the paper, and this person's telling me they're not well. And so there's something more going on. And it really is, you know, hearing everything about them and how they're feeling, and and I guess treating them as a human, and totally respecting their needs, and going on a journey with them, and really being there to be that cheerleader. So, I really see myself as that cheerleader, that coach, to really empower them. And it's really that empowerment through education.
And I know that you were telling me that you do quite a bit of like mindset work, so what's that other part of your clinical training and consultation look like with the mindset? How do you apply that to your clients?
Yeah, so that was really a self-discovery journey. You know, when I left school, completed my engineering degree, started in the corporate workforce, I just didn't feel the right place for me, and I didn't quite understand where the right place was, you know, for me. And it took me many years to discover that. But I went on this self-discovery, self-help journey, went to lots of extracurriculum training, so to speak. So, you know, I started with the Tony Robbins course and did that. And that Tony Robbins course really opened my mind up to just this other side of education that wasn't taught in schools, that was so important for life skills, and I didn't have it. And so I really went on that journey of understanding emotional intelligence, understanding people, what motivates them. And it was really through reading lots and lots of books for every, you know, I guess all these gurus in this space, and really, reading the books, but then applying it in my own life and applying it in the corporate world. And I found it really worked. And I was actually getting more return on my investments in that sense than what I did from my university degree. Yes, the university degree sort of ticked the box and, you know, gave me some credibility and some paper. However, my real success in corporate really came down to that understanding the person in front of me, understanding their needs, listening, and really working with them collaboratory, and letting go of the ego. And so it was that journey I went on, and that was, you know, certainly I'm still on that journey today, but I started that 20 years ago.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Well, it gives you that holistic approach then, doesn't it? Because again, we're not just a body, we've got a mind, we've got a soul, you know, so it's how to merge those together to really get the maximum efficacy from our treatments.
Absolutely. And most of the consults very much working with the person in terms of their mindset, their emotions, because that's driving their behavior. And so if I don't understand what's going on in their mind and their emotions, then I'm really missing that understanding as to why they're doing that. Because at the end of the day, yes, I could teach them, you know, not teach them, but say, you know, you need to eat more vegetables.
Yeah.
But they're saying, well, I already know that. I've really come to you in terms of you teaching me the how am I going to do that? And that requires really getting into that mindset and understanding their emotions. And, you know, our emotions drive a lot of our poor eating behaviors. So, so I find it's really necessary to get into that space and work with them so that, you know, we come up with a plan that's workable and understand what those destructive drivers are. So they, you know, that they might be going a particular path on the way home from work, and it might not be advantageous in terms of, you know, their tummy's hungry and they're seeing the big AMs or something like that. And so it's understanding everything about what they do so that we can set them up for success.
Yeah. And so how does it all come together? So if I was a client that came to you, how do you sort of structure your clinics? What's the first sort of things you look at? What's a clinic? What's a clinic consultation look like for you?
So it's very much listening, really feeling, I guess picking up on the energy of the person, where they're at, their story, their health journey, their health history, touching on family history if it's applicable, touching on any current diagnosis and any medical records, if that's applicable, and really going with the person. So not really saying, every consult is a blank sheet of paper in front of me in terms of their treatment plan. There's nothing off the shelf. It's really starting from scratch with that person, because understanding that that person's at a different point in their health journey and their goals different to any other person. So for me, it's really understanding where they're at, where they want to go, and then really helping them map a path to get there. So it's like a collaboration. It's workshopping. Is the consult is really workshopping. I mean, initially there is, extracting a lot of information from them and hearing them, and understanding the bigger picture. And, ultimately in the back of my mind, I'm getting down to that root cause, is what I'm doing in the back of my mind, but realizing that may take some time, and this person needs to be addressed a lot earlier than me taking that time to get to that root cause. It might not happen in the first consult. So it's really giving them some actionable steps to walk away with from that consult that are going to make a difference. And these actionable consults actionable actions aren't necessarily just nutrition. You should be eating this, and this is what a good meal looks like. It's the whole. So I'm very much that holistic practitioner. So there'll be, if necessary, and sleep's important. If they're not getting much sleep, they'll go away with some sleep tips, some, sleep actions. They'll go away with some, potentially some relationship, things to do around their relationship, whether it just invests some more time into it, or, maybe talk to someone else, get some advice, and just really helping them move in some of these spaces that they're stuck. And look, if I'm not the person, then I'm really open to referring to someone else if that other person's going to get them the results they want quicker.
Well, it's like, there's a lot there that you said that's so profound. But I guess one of the biggest things is like giving them small actionable steps, because that leads to longer lasting life change, doesn't it? If they go to someone and it's like, okay, yep, you're eating too much McDonald's, you got to overhaul this, organic food, local meat. They're like, whoa, how can I implement all that at once? And then, they'll do it for a week, and it's like, oh, this is too hard, and throw it back in, and you don't get anywhere with your clients. Hey, so it's like giving them those nice small steps where they can see a change. So then they start to trust you more and more, and they lose a little bit of that skepticism. They see the improvements, and then it starts to build from there.
Yeah, absolutely. You've nailed it. If it's not small enough and it doesn't fit in with what they're doing, and they can't see it connected with their end goal, then they won't do it. People are very busy, and it needs to be really to fit in with that everyday routine that they're currently doing. So that gets actioned essentially. And also it's identifying any barriers that they may come up against, in doing that task. And then obviously working with them to remove those barriers, or coming up with alternatives and plan Bs, because that's inevitable. And there's things that we don't identify that come up, but then, it's having those touch points and that regular engagement that really helps them along their journey.
So I guess one of the biggest things that I see in the nutritional space at the moment is the ideological sort of diehardness of certain dietary patterns, right? Like you're a carnivore, you're a vegan, you're a vegetarian, you're, this way, plant-based, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people I find have quite significant and strong views on how they view diet. How do you approach that sort of landscape in your practice?
Yeah, it's a great one, because it's becoming, I'm seeing a lot more of it today. It's very much through education. So it's totally respecting where they're coming from, but also asking them why, and getting down to the bottom of why they believe that, why they believe that's best for them. And it's respecting their decision. So at the end of the day, I'll still work with the client. So if they're vegan and they want to remain vegan, I'll I'll bring to the table in terms of, some education around what they may be missing in their diet and where we need to really focus and support them to make sure that they stay healthy. But I'm not going to spend the consult trying to convince them that they shouldn't be vegan. I totally respect the individual's choice, and I'll work with the individual around that choice. And it's, just through an educational process. And sometimes I have these diehard vegans or, vegetarians, and I don't want to single out vegans, vegetarians, because, there's the fat lovers, the keto diet and things like that. However, through that educational process, they do start venturing into areas outside of where they were before, just through education, because they're saying, well, I've really got no obstacle and I actually like that food, and I'm actually missing it. So I'm glad you said this to me, because it makes me feel better that I can eat it. And yeah, so I find there's a bit of brainwashing out there with some documentaries, and that Game Changers was certainly one of those brainwashing documentaries, one-sided, didn't give the studies weren't proper, good evidence based studies. So it really is, informing and educating the client in front of you.
And again, like you said, that's where your mindset stuff would come in so handy, because like you said, why? It's like, well, why are you doing this? What's driving you? Where's that coming from? Like, is it because you want to fit in, or is it because you've got, you don't like, again, there's legitimate concerns about animal welfare. So, I guess that education on, there are different ways that you can approach eating meat. There are different ways that you can go for that healthier option, or, better agriculture practices.
Absolutely. No, you've nailed it there, Josh. Yeah.
So with your practice then, do you do many dietary plans, like meal plans, meal like prep for people, what they should eat, like that sort of stuff? Or like, where do you go with your treatment plans and that dietary stuff for people? Are you more of like, we'll teach you how to think about diet more so than what to eat?
Definitely the latter. So it's education, and it's educating them around nutritional principles. And some of them are really basic principles, but are lost in today's modern world, such as, mindful eating and eating together and eating undistracted, putting your knife and fork down, chewing your food. So really basics, but really important, because that's that's where they're going to get the satiety signals kicking in, because they're actually engaged with what they're doing. They're going to, the signals will actually register, as opposed to their mind's so distracted and not picking up the satiety signals, and they think, well, I'll just keep eating mindlessly. So really working with fundamentals around nutrition and working it towards their goal. So if their goal's, fertility, or their goal is weight loss, or the goal is better emotional, mental health, then it's really coming up with, it's not meal plans. It's them understanding what good eating looks like and how they should do it, and them being able to find their way. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be there forever with them. That we're together for a limited time period. So the best thing I can do is impart the education so that they know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and they can adapt to various situations. Because not every time they're in the house being able to prepare meals. Sometimes they're out, they're on holidays, so they've got to know what to look for in the menu. So through the education, they know what to look for in the menu, and they can relax about it and enjoy food.
And so how does the Bachelor of Complementary Medicine then come in? So is that sort of looking at what medications they're on and how to maybe supplement them with nutritional advice? So what's that whole component of your practice?
Yes, the complementary medicine was very much a study of all the complementary medicine, not in its entirety, because there's so many of them, but the major ones. So I certainly understand the basics of what the other practitioners do. Allied health, so complementary medicine is also including the allied healthcare, such as chiropractic, physiotherapy, exercise physiology. So it's allied health plus, you've got your natural, naturopath, you got Reiki, and so it was really extensive, Ralphing therapy, and all different types of physical therapy. So it gave me a great understanding and, understand the philosophies behind those treatments to be able to refer confidently, knowing that treatment's going to make a difference. And so, it really opened me up to Chinese medicine. I got a great understanding of Chinese medicine and the benefits and how it works. And so it's really helped me work with other healthcare practitioners because I can better understand the language they're talking and being better able to refer to them and collaborate with them. So it's, that's, I think, primarily what I've got out of the complementary medicine degree. And, in terms of understanding medications, I very much, we did pharmacology in my clinical nutrition degree. And, before that, I studied a lot of naturopathy. So I was studying herb interactions. I didn't finish my naturopathy degree, but I certainly got some basic or a good foundation in it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's so important, isn't it? That whole referral, that networking, that ability to build a healthcare team for your client, because again, we can't be there all the time and we can't do everything. Everyone has different specialities, everyone has different talents. And so to think that it's such an ego thing to think that you can do everything, but it's when you've got that client, that clinical landscape that you can refer clients onto, it just gets the best opportunities for the clients to really get maximum treatment benefits. Hey.
Absolutely. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I really see it when I'm working with, in a great collaboration arrangement with other healthcare practitioners that, if we're talking, we both understand the client's goals, we both inform one another of what we're doing to help support that client. The client loves it because, it's open communication between us and the client. And they're getting better results, enhanced results. And so, I totally agree with you. I think the more we can do it, and my vision is that we collaborate a whole lot more because, when I started in healthcare or, I guess growing up as a kid, looking at the healthcare system, it was so disjointed. It was silos. And for me, I think, I totally believe the answers are out there if we all work together. And we can really get enhanced care for our clients if we work together.
It's just, like that whole, the whole ecosystem of health, I think, is just such a wonderful idea of everyone doing their little part and coming together to form that whole. It just, I don't know, it just tickles my fancy so much when I think about it.
Yeah. And you can just imagine, just the client having more choices than just thinking they have to go down one pathway and more informs choices with education and empowerment. So, and part of my experience growing up was, it was all medical. It was, and for me, I saw my mother doing the right thing by me because that's what she knew. But I would love an educated society to realize that there's other treatments out there that could be more beneficial for the individual as opposed to just going down one route. So I'm really keen for us as a society to have a much better understanding of what's available, and so that consumers have choices and they can make educated choices.
Definitely. And that's why it's so great that natural therapies are being so much more recognized and are actually being brought out to the public square, because now people, like you said, when I was growing up, I know as well, my parents took me to the doctor and they, I got a tonsil surgery and all that sorts of stuff. And it's like, now I know it's semi-different and I'm of a different mindset, but you can't blame them because that was the landscape back then. So it's just wonderful now that rather than coming from that blame mindset, we can now start to build a little bit more of, awareness around different routes and different informed choices, and maybe something that's a little bit less invasive first. And if it doesn't quite work, well, then, now we can start to look at the invasive stuff, but, routes and choices that the clients have, which is always better for that empowerment.
100% agree, Josh. Totally.
Well, this has been awesome, Anthony. Thank you so much for coming on. Me and My Wellness is your website and business. What offerings do you have for people and where can they find you?
Yeah, so best to find me either on any of the socials, actually, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I have a website, and it's all me and My Wellness. Pretty much the tags and the website address .com.au. In terms of where I specialize, I really, as you mentioned, I very much work with mental health, a lot around mental health, and very much with weight loss. I see a lot of weight loss clients. and family health. So they're the areas I specialize in. I offer a range of offers, but they're all very tailored to the individual's needs. So
yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I don't want to mention any generics, not genetic.
Yep.
At the end of the day, yeah, it's all tailored to the individual.
Yeah, fantastic. And where's your clinic space? Do you do it all via Zoom, or do you have an in-person clinic?
Yeah, in-person clinics at Randwick, and I do Zoom or whatever if the person prefers FaceTime. I work with the individual as to how they want to consult, and but if they want to come physically to see me, they can, and I'm at Randwick.
Where's Randwick?
Randwick,
Victoria.
Randwick, New South Wales.
New South Wales. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
There is a Randwick in Victoria. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, everybody out there, if this sounds something that's interesting to you, please look up Anthony at Me and My Wellness and get in touch, and we'll see what we can do for a treatment plan. And any therapists that feel like they want to connect and they want to collaborate or anything like that, I'm sure Anthony will be open to that, to any of those sorts of discussions. Anthony, would just like to thank you so much for coming on to Therapist Spotlight today.
Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate your time. It's been a great discussion. Thank you.
And everybody out there, have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one. See yous.
Thank you for listening to Therapist Spotlight. If you would like to know more about ANTA, visit us at www.anta.com.au.